Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, how are my snipers doing today? I hope you guys are doing fantastic. Listen, today we're going to be talking about the one, the only Zebec network. Now, we do have some overall positive news when it comes to the technical analysis side. We can see over the last day or so, Bitcoin has recovered an insane amount, right? We, in just the last day, at one point, have gone up $6,000. We even closed pretty much over a little bit over 5,000. And if we just count a little bit more than the last 24 hours, we at one point have recovered, $8,500. So, that's very, very promising because that does mean, things could change for Zebec. Something we have talked about before is, Bitcoin is going to determine everything this month, right? And people mean everything. I mean, yes, everything, right? If it closes too low at a certain point, it's going to be confirmations of altcoin season happening ASAP. If it continues to go up higher and recover a good amount, the show goes on. The show goes on with Bitcoin. So we will see. We will see and monitor how everything is in terms of the Bitcoin movement. When it comes to something like Zebec, right, if we go to our beloved Zebec network, we can see that we did have a decent recovery. Not as big as our beloved Bitcoin, but we did at one point, go from down here to here, 11.5% or so, right? So not bad, not bad. We can see we have this huge 4-hour candle, like one of the biggest ones we've received in a while. I mean, this one could be debatably bigger, but I can already tell this one's bigger. So one of the biggest 4-hour candles we've received. Now, this one was pretty big on the 9th of November. So we are looking to be reclaiming this territory up here. Generally speaking, we do have some type of support here. And now you could do a bigger range all the way down to 0.00288. And I would say this is generally valid, right? This is generally valid. So what we're looking for next is to pretty much start to respect this zone, right? Because if we start to respect this zone, we probably will bounce up. We probably will continue to go sideways, but then we're going to slowly shift our way to the upside. And if we do something like this, this just creates lots and lots of confirmation for something like Zebec that it is reversing, right? Which would be very, very ideal. And to be honest, Zebec can afford to reverse because on the yearly, we are already bullish. So, we can afford to reverse because the yearly candle is on our side. When it comes to something like the 6-month, right? The 6-month is more of a retest in my opinion. The 3-month is kind of the same thing. I mean, 3-month is kind of lingering between zones as we talked about previously, right? We do have this huge kind of trend line going for us. Do something on the monthly, we even go to something like the daily. We can see, right? Kind of boom, boom, boom. We touch multiple points. As we know, we are kind of just in a zone, right? And that's just the reality of the situation. We are kind of just in this type of zone. Over here, it doesn't really matter how much you readjust it or how you look at it, but generally it gives us the same picture, right? Whether we go up a little bit more or whether we kind of go more flatline like this maybe, right? We generally get the same picture. We overall know the bigger picture is that we are currently ranging in between, let's just say, generally 0.0025 and the 0.0049, right? This is mainly our main range. And I expect things to continue to go generally sideways unless Bitcoin decides to flip for the next month. Right, but it's not bad. Going sideways is not bad. People don't like when we go sideways. But guys, you have to realize, when you go down, the next step to start reversing isn't actually just straight up. It's usually actually going sideways to then go up, right? Kind of like a W. Think about it like that, right? You go down, you kind of go sideways, and then you go up, right? Nice W. So, and that's what we're looking for. We are going to be looking to see if Zebec can generally hold this big range over here because this is a massive resistance, right? We can see we actually tapped off this lower resistance a little bit earlier and we instantly got rejected and we instantly went to the upside. So if we can start seeing sideways movement and reversal potentials, that's going to be very, very bullish for the start of 2026, right? And like I said, we still could technically flip certain zones in December if Bitcoin allows us to, right? The zones we are looking for to be flipping are right over here. We have this swing high, this swing high, this swing high, and this swing high. So the next time we kind of start going up, we really want to conquer the 0.0034. Like close above the 3.4, close around the 3.5, 3.6. That would look really good, because even if we closed over here, we struggle a little bit, at least we would officially create a higher high. And then we'll be looking to be taking out these minor swing zones over here. Right, as of right now, is this the strongest indication, in my opinion, that we are, creating a higher low? I mean, not 100% necessarily. I want to see more, in my personal opinion, but like I said, for me, it doesn't ultimately matter whether or not we hold this or go a little bit lower. I'm looking at the bigger picture. I'm looking at 3-cent Zebec, 7-cent Zebec, minimum 10-cent Zebec, even upwards to $1, right? I'm not trying to get lost in any illusions, but that's just the reality. That is just the reality. Another thing that's helping our case is actually when we go and look at the daily chart, we do have multiple swing points over here, right? We have boom, wick, these two, and we have some structure here. So we are actually on a very good zone regardless, right? And that's what we can see on the 4-hour, we held very nice. Overall, right, this type of price action going back down, was expected, right? Going back down a decent amount was expected, and we've been talking about that even last week. We thought last week maybe we'll go down first and then we go up, but we actually went up and then we went down first. Of course, like I said, this is not the confirmation just yet, but we will be monitoring. The evidence does suggest that there's a high probability, but once again, it is all up to our beloved Bitcoin. Someone said, if it's all up to Bitcoin, why not just trade Bitcoin? Why not just buy Bitcoin? And that's because you can get better ratios on other cryptos. It's just more about timing, right? It's about the project, right? What do you believe in the project? And it's about the timing when you get in. Some people might be getting in now. They might be getting nice massive discounts at Zebec. Let's say 2026 altcoin season does play out within 3 to 6 months. I'm most do it wait a couple months, and they might potentially make 10, 15, 20, 100, 300x, right? So it's more about timings. It's more about ratios. And yeah, but these things still ultimately matter, right? They still ultimately matter. And they always will, right? They always will. But look, we talked about November. How it did close officially the lowest low in some time. I know some people were concerned about that. I'm not too concerned. Obviously, we want to see very nice pullbacks. And here's the thing, right? In theory, granted, the timing is going to be weird because we are going to be the end of the candle, the yearly candle. Even on the monthly, though, if we go up to the 0.0037, that doesn't necessarily mean anything. We still create lower highs on the monthly. So in theory, we could even go up to here, right? This area here, but the monthly, that still would be a lower high. But the only thing, that could invalidate this type of market structure is the fact that we are starting a new yearly candle pretty much a month from now. So we will be monitoring how everything goes. But that is ultimately it, though, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you guys did enjoy. I'll talk to you guys next time. Goodbye.